Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, trader Steve here at Logic FX Trading, and welcome to our daily FX analysis. Quick look at yesterday's economic calendar, guys, as we spoke about yesterday morning. UK interest rates, or inflation rates, come in higher than expected, which isn't actually a good thing. um, Core inflation in the Eurozone came in at 2%, forecast 2.1. Difficulty with Europe at the minute is that they're having a fourth wave of COVID and talking about, well, they're not going to lock down the whole economy, but certainly there's going to be restrictions on there, guys. And then Canada, we got core inflation and inflation, which came in more or less as expected. I don't know what the forecast was there, but I can see it's in black, so I assume it was 3.8. Okay, not a lot to read into that. One of the things about the UK, guys, we were talking yesterday about the Bank of England threatening to increase interest rates, and it may well be next month, and therefore we're looking for some upside to the pound. One of the conversations that we're having in Bloomberg yesterday was that if you're comparing the US situation, where they're not looking to increase interest rates as soon as next month or maybe January, but certainly towards the middle of next year. But the underlying economies of the two countries are almost divergent at the minute, guys. The US is booming, and the UK still has logistical problems. It's still got the whole problem to work out with Brexit. There's still problems there. It's still a drag on the economy. So even though they're talking about increasing interest rates, they didn't see as much upside to the pound as possibly you would see in the dollar, and possibly even a pound dollar going short, because the dollar's increase would be stronger than the pound's increase. So for me, I would leave that one alone. And if you want to trade the pound long, then obviously you've got to look for something that's a little bit weaker than it, something that's running short. Possibly the euro. We did talk about the yen, the Aussie, the New Zealand, something like that, guys. But don't be trying to trade it against the dollar. And then on the dollar side of things, I think there's possibly still more upside to it, but we do need to find our entry points, guys. If you're already in and you're more of a long-term guy, get your stops where you want them to be, let them run. Or person trader, should I say? Yeah, we're also conscious of not offending anyone. If there's any ladies watching, I apologize. Hello, I call my female friends guys as well, so there you go. Yeah, so lost my train of thought there, folks. Yeah, let's get on to today. It'll come back to me when we're looking at the charts, folks. Inflation rate in Japan's what we're looking at. We'll have to see how that comes in. I'm still looking for downside to the yen, to be quite honest, just structurally. Now, the one thing that concerned me a little bit about the yen yesterday, with a lot of drawdowns, my account was drawn down quite a bit yesterday, guys, across the board. It's a bit annoying, but you get days like that, and often when you get a situation like that where investors start to get a little bit concerned about the inflation rate, you'll see money coming out of stocks and maybe getting into a bit of safety for a while. But the overall consensus that I'm picking up from Bloomberg is that probably the best place to have your money at the minute is the stock market, because you're not getting great returns on bonds. So potentially the stock market's going to run flat for a while, guys, which is okay. We're not looking for any major corrections. Maybe we'll get a little drawdown, but not a major correction. Certainly not at the moment anyway, guys. And of course, that could change if circumstances change, which is the reason why we keep an eye on this all the time, guys. And then just a quick look at tomorrow, consumer confidence in UK, which will be interesting to see. Okay, let's get over to the charts. Now, there's a little pullback on the yen yesterday, guys. We broke out. We're on 4 hours here, guys. We broke out and it's come back up. I don't think that that's going to continue long. I think that, it could hang around there for a little bit, but I do think if we come back and look at it in a lot of weeks' time, it will be in this direction. Now, the difficulty with that is, of course, if you go to, we'll just jump forward here, guys. Do you remember I traded this? Let's go down to 1 hour. I was probably a little bit too tight with this. I got into this here somewhere and was doing okay. Put my stop loss to 0. It's come down. It's just stopped me out, guys, and started to rise again. I don't think this is going to take off from here. This could well, form a bit of a structure like that. If it does, I'll look to get back into it again. The reason I got in so quickly here without really having to set up for it was because I was expecting this move up and possibly to continue with the idea of the Bank of England going to increase interest rates because this just turned, and I thought, well, we might get a bit more push. Maybe put my stop loss to 0 too quickly. The other one I took yesterday, and these are the only 2 trades I had on in currency. 90%, more than 90% of the money I have on the market at the minute is in stocks, guys. Was this one yet again, as it broke out of here, I got into it nicely. Yet again, it's pulling back. Haven't put my stop loss to 0 at the moment, guys. Hopefully I don't regret it. We could also see a bit of a pullback like that over the next few weeks before it takes off again. We'll have to see. Okay, back to the start. DXY. Okay, we've had this move up the dollar. You should see, a pullback on it of some sort or other, and I think it will continue long, guys. Which obviously means you'll get a pullback there, and it'll drop. Just run through these quickly. This is the one I'm going to avoid, guys, because the pound's going long and the dollar's going long. Dollar might go slightly longer, which means this could drop, but it's not anything to write home about. Certainly, if it did something like that, you'd like to be in it, but I don't think that's going to happen. More chance of something like that happening over here. But yet again, I'm a little bit wary on this one because we have a structure there. Doesn't mean that the structure can't be broken, but that isn't a place that I'd like to try and trade short from, guys. Obviously from there, or if you were lucky enough to catch that, I wouldn't call it an ending diagonal, but as it dropped out of that, if you get in from up there, then you're laughing. And if you wanted to keep trying to trade it short, then possibly could put your stop loss there. So you've protected that. New Zealand, yet again, there's a bit of a pullback at the minute, guys. That's to do with the correction in DXY. But once that's over, I'm pretty sure we'll see it push out again. So this may end up doing something like that, and potentially that one. Now, remember, these lines are just in to try and give us a sense of what's happening. They're not, the price isn't going to get to there and go, oh, there's a line there, let's not move. So, take them with a pinch of salt. US CAD. This is pushing up. Oil price at the moment, I think it's as high as it's going to go in the short term. Certainly over the next few months, it could push higher than what it is. And therefore, you could see a bit more upside to this. But I wouldn't want to trade that either, guys. Now, this one, I do like trading this one. Yet again, it's just broke out of a structure. In from down there would be fantastic to be brave and let that run. Maybe you could get in there if it gives us a setup to try and get long on that, but I'm a little bit wary of that. If it came back down a little bit steeper, then I'd be happier with it. There's the pullback on the yen yesterday. We broke out of there and pushed up, and then with this. That doesn't mean it won't do that and eventually go, guys, which is what I'm expecting. Won't necessarily do that, but I'm saying I'm expecting to go in that direction. So maybe I trade that long from there. Same with that. That hasn't changed since yesterday, guys. Gold, it's up there. It's hanging around. We're getting that structure where normally you'll get a drop in it, and then we could well get a push on up. people looking for a bit of safety out of the back of all the inflation. Of course, I think there's a bit of a wait and see situation at the moment. Can companies, particularly American companies, can they outgrow the inflation? In other words, can they pass prices on? And some companies will be able to do that, and some won't. The ones that can will stay strong, and the ones that can't, guys, those will be the ones that will which will drop in the stock market. But at the moment, I can't see any panic out there, which would push gold long from here. I am in gold, and I require it to go further long. But I'm just going to be patient with it, and I'm certainly not going to put any more money into it, guys. I got into gold too soon. I got into gold 4 or 5 months ago when we were expecting a correction in the market, and it just really didn't happen. Gold didn't move. Bitcoin was the thing that moved. You know, but I was very skeptical about Bitcoin back then, and I still am at the levels that it's at. Other people just keep saying it's going higher, including my advisor at well, I don't know if he's an advisor or not, but my contact at eToro thinks it's going to go higher. But you know, I'm always a little bit skeptical of younger people, and the reason being is that until you've been through the mill a few times, you always think the world's going to go in the direction that you want it to, and then when you've been battered a few times, you realise that it doesn't. It goes fantastic, and then it drops. So Bitcoin yet again, it's pulled back here, guys. Maybe it needs a bit more consolidation here. It just about broke through the previous high, and up it goes. If it were to come down, maybe back down to 40,000 or something, I'd probably be a little bit more interested. I remember when we were back here, I drew something like that, wasn't it? And when we were in this bit, I said, well, listen, if it were to come back down to there, I'd certainly be interested in it. And it's always easy with hindsight, guys. When you see that, you go, hey, well, sure, that was a great wee setup. Why didn't you take it? But the problem is when you're sitting there and you haven't got that, let's go back to replay. That's a lot more difficult position to get involved in. Is it going to drop down into here to make this structure, or is it going to push up and even break that? I mean, to be quite honest, from there I said, well, we'll probably get back to there. That was the target, and as we know, it broke it. How do you make this thing go away? Okay. So, yet again, if it were to come back down a bit, maybe I'd be interested in it. The difficulty with crypto is that they tend to all move in the same direction. So Bitcoin comes off, everything comes off. What I have got into was Solano. Solano, isn't it? Sol USD. And of course, I got involved here as I thought this was going to go up, but it's actually a nice little zigzag at the minute. There was the previous one. We'll have to see, is this going to break out and push on up from here, or is it going to give us deeper? But I do think there'll be upside to it. So although I don't like being in a drawdown, I do think it eventually will go long. And maybe just add that over. Well, let's leave it for now. Back to our watch list. Not going to dwell on anything too much here today, guys, because nothing much is different to yesterday. And Ethereum, of course, also has the drawdown. Let's just see what sort of structure this forms. There was the last correction. It could well give us something of that order of magnitude, and then I'd certainly be interested in trying to trade it long. Now, I'm doing a little bit of Ethereum mining at the minute. I know it's going to finish at some point in the next lot of months, but it was just something that I wanted to get into. I wanted to learn a little bit about it. The glory days of it are behind. If I'd have known about it 2 or 3 years ago, could have made a lot of money at it. But I've dipped my toe in. I'm mining Ethereum, but I'm changing it to a stable coin. But if this were to drop nicely, I might well buy back into this. USDC is what I'm changing it to on a daily basis. Oil, yeah, we're in a bit of a correction with it, guys. It could well push up, could come back to there. It might even go higher. I don't trade oil. I just find it too expensive to trade. Yeah, there's no downs. It's not going down here, guys. That's the important thing with it. It will stay up here, as we said. We've been saying all year, guys. Oil's going long, and even right back down here, we were saying, listen, it's consolidating here. It isn't going down into there. It may well run flat, but eventually it'll break out, which is what it did. And then we more or less said the same there and here, and now we're in another correction. But it's possibly got more upside up to about $100 a barrel. Could go over that, but that's not on the cards at the moment. I think if it got up into that level, you'd probably see a lot of pressure on the OPEC to start opening the taps and producing some more oil. EuroCAD. That's probably a little pullback in the oil price there, guys. It's caused that. That little pullback there has caused that. I wouldn't worry too much about it. I suspect maybe you'll get some sort of setup there. Possible it goes again. I'm not all that interested in trading that. Euro Oz had the little breakout. Is that another setup in there? Certainly, if the dollar's going to go long, the euro would normally go short. So possibly as part of that, which would be a fifth wave, guys. So it's possible 1, 2 for those of you that do counts. Euro New Zealand, I would expect the same thing, guys. Trade in that direction. Not giving you targets, that's not what I do. Euro Yen. Well, yes, this will possibly go long, guys, as the yen drops, but obviously the trade would be dollar yen. Euro Swiss, don't know about that at the minute, guys. Reason being, you need a setup, and there isn't one there. Pound CAD, well, that was a half decent push up there. Perhaps that would have been a better. We're on 4 hours here, by the way. That probably would have been a better bet than the yen bet. But yet again, hindsight's a wonderful thing. If we take it down to 1 hour, could consolidate there and possibly push on up. Not overly keen on that one. Maybe this one's better. Rather have this one. This is the one I'm in, guys. If we get a consolidation there, maybe add the position and get it to push on up. The same with this, guys. This has pulled back quite sharply, but we're looking for a consolidation here before breaking out. Pound Swiss, possibly the same thing. I'm just a little bit worried that if things go pear-shaped with the stock market, that if gold started going long sooner than expected, then the Swiss would strengthen up and push in the opposite direction. So of all of those, maybe Aussie or New Zealand be a best bet, and then pound, euro, possibly yet again. We were saying yesterday we're looking for a setup on it. If we got a setup, then that'd be the trade. This one at the moment, that little structure there concerns me about jumping back into it. Let me just clean it up a bit. I know we spoke about this a moment ago, but that little structure doesn't have to do that, but you would not be surprised if it did do that and then started coming up, guys. So I'll not be trying to trade again from there. It can push on up from there, guys, but I'd prefer to see it giving us a little zigzag. And then as it broke out of that, that'd be your first target and then on through. Aussie Yen. Yeah, that's a bit of a surprise there, guys. That move on the yen yesterday. But I still think that this is a possibility. I don't know, did we have that initially there and then I moved it out of the way or what? But I wouldn't be surprised if we got that move because it'd be a fifth wave. I don't know how many times I need to delete this, but I've been deleting it for days. You know what it is? I think I maybe have to save or something. Oh, I'm not messing around with it now. And that was quite a sharp move back down. As I said yesterday, guys, I don't have a handle on this at the moment. At some point, this is going to start to go long, and that's when I'll trade it. Reason being that it's down near the bottom of that structure, and it's also near the bottom of the flat structure on the higher time scale. Depending where you call the bottom, we've had two spikes down, but I don't see any reason at the minute for that to happen again. So if you take that as your bottom, we're pretty close to it, guys. And if you're just looking at it structurally, surely the next move, given how this pair moves, surely the next move has to be up, which on a daily time scale looks easy. But if you get involved now and it keeps dropping, then you're going to be squealing. So let's just give it a little bit of time. And at some point in the next few weeks, maybe get a handle on it. And, when it starts moving in that direction, maybe we look to trade it up. Aussie Swiss. Don't know about that. Aussie CAD. It's another one I don't know about. Swiss Yen. Yeah, I would look to trade that further up, guys, but it's waiting for it to break out. We're on 1 hour there, so it's been doing this for a long time. And what can be very frustrating with trading, particularly if you're looking at things every day and you're wanting to jump in and out of things, is when you get caught in something like that, it can be very, very annoying, guys. Maybe somewhere here you got into this and then you had a drop and it started coming up and you're thinking, right, okay, we're away again. And then you get this and then, okay, we're going, and then it's that. And then it just keeps going and going. And next thing you know, if you didn't put a stop loss in, you're now in the red and it's been going on for weeks. And that can be really annoying, guys. But often what happens with these things is it goes on for weeks and weeks and weeks. You get out of it, you forget about it, and then you come back 2 weeks later and it's done that. That's happened to me so many times. I'm talking about charts in general, I'm not talking about this specific chart, but you do have to be patient with these things, guys. CAD Swiss. Well, this is one of these situations where I draw something, then it happens, and then I don't do anything about it. And this is probably a better example of what we were talking about there, where it happens. You see that with that divergence. I pointed this out the other day. I said this should drop. That's why we drew that in, and then that would be the place to get involved to trade it long. Am I going to get involved in that? I don't know. I'll tell you what I am going to do. I'm going to put down. I'm going to write it down to remind me during the day to keep looking at it and eventually make a decision. CAD yen, same thing there, guys. From there, said, listen, look for a pullback, and then that'll be the trade. We've had the pullback. It's been very sharp. Is that now the trade? I've got to ask myself the question. So yet again, that's another one I'll be looking at. And of course, if I take them, I'll we'll talk about it tomorrow. New Zealand yen. Interesting that's taken off in the opposite direction. And yet again, this is one that I suspect will get a fifth wave out of. This will break and it'll go long. New Zealand CAD. No, I'm not interested in that. I don't have an angle on it, guys. I don't, unless I understand what's going on fundamentally, or have at least an inkling of what's going on fundamentally. I'm not going to give you a call on it, because you can't possibly know what's going on with everything all of the time, guys. And at least I'm honest and just say to you, I don't know what's going on with that. And I might see a news story, or there might be a report, and I'll go, hey, I've just heard this or that about whatever. Let's have a look at this particular chart to see if we can get an opportunity in it, guys. New Zealand Swiss, yet again, possibly long, but I don't know. I'm a little bit concerned about trading against the Swiss at the minute. And then that's us done, but I just wanted to talk about this one. This is the genomic revolutions, what the ARC's calling it. Guys, this thing will, over the next lot of years, take off. The difficulty is, at the minute, we had that big run up earlier in the year, and everything got really expensive. The downside to these sorts of things is, and I've talked about this before, that they're doing research. When they get something right, when they find a solution and it gets passed and it gets taken up, it's worth billions, guys. The difficulty is, if you get in when the stocks are cheap, that a lot of these companies either won't find the thing they're looking for, or it'll take that long to come about and get passed and put through that you've given up on it long ago. So, but it is something that if you're looking long term and you're not worried about being drawn down over the next year or 2 years or 3 years, if you're looking long term, these are going to be fantastic companies for the future. And you can just look up ARC Genomic Revolution. They'll tell you everything that they're looking at. They'll tell you, we just go in here and go ARKG. And there's artfunds.com. And you go through here, they will tell you everything they're getting into, what their thoughts are, the different systems that they're following: stem cell, agricultural biology, molecular diagnosis, CRISPR, that's gene editing, which should be targeting genetic illnesses and cancer and that sort of thing, guys. And in 20 years' time, this will be norm. You just go and get things that people are dying off now. You just go and you have a treatment, and there you're sorted. And then if you go into our ETFs, so I looked at this the other day. There's all the other ETFs in ARC. I'm not saying buy them today, guys. I'm just saying be aware of them and go into them and look at what they're buying, and then decide whether you want to get into the ETF or whether you want to pick a particular stock and buy it. But they're doing a lot of the work for you, and they give you all the information that they're working on. Sorry, I should have thought this through before I went into it. I was in this yesterday. I thought I would have found holdings. There we go. That's what we're looking for. This is their holdings, and this is the percentage. So Teladoc, now I'm in Teladoc. Vertex, I've been in and out of Vertex. And then this is exposure breakdown. North America, 93%. But you can find the full holdings. There it is there, guys. Full holdings PDF. Let's just open this. Hopefully this will open. And then this is the full list of their holdings. How do you zoom? Obviously, Teladoc at the top with 8%. And then there's CRISPR Therapeutics that I got into because of Cathy Wood, and then lost a lot of money on it. But they've 2.78% on that. And Editas was another one I got in because of them and lost a lot of money on it. But I lost the money, guys, because they dropped and dropped and dropped, and I just thought, well, I'm out of here. Whereas if you have a long-term view on it and you have enough money, you just buy more when they drop. The difficulty I have with some of these, there's Pfizer as well there, guys. There's Editas. The difficulty I have with some of these is that I have, I was just looking through my old share certificates and what have you from years ago. And in 1997, I was invested in a company called Cortex, and Cortecs. Now, they no longer exist. I spent quite a bit of time yesterday trying to look them up to see what happened to them. There are other companies called Cortex International, but it's not the company I invested in. I had £28,000 in them in 1997, which probably somewhere in the region of $40,000. And over a period of 5 months, I lost $10,000 or £10,000 on them, guys. And eventually they went to nothing. So you do need to be careful with these companies that are spending money to find solutions, because if they run out of money, the company's worth nothing, guys. So they're a big gamble. I'm not saying don't touch them, but be very careful and have it just as a small part of your portfolio. Anyway, that just came to mind because I had it down here. That shouldn't really be in there, guys. But that'll do for the day. I'll speak to you all again tomorrow. Bye for now.